So thought I'd talk a little bit about me because I see some trolls have found my page here and want to leave stupid comments. A lot of them about me being racist, which is kind of interesting since I'm a mixed breed, mostly white and Native American, and but because of dominant recessive gene, I don't look like my dark skinned, dark eyed, dark haired brother or father. I look more like my white mother. And even though she has mixed blood in her too, I know that's a little confusing for a lot of leftists. Look, I talk about my Instagram or my Telegram where they say I'm going to leave these racist comments and things like that. Let's go ahead and define racism as according to the woke people. Oh, by the woke standards, I'm severely racist just for the fact that even if I only prefer to have relationships with white women, although many of which were Hispanic Latina types. They asked me, "Have you ever been interested or anything in black?" And actually, not, because it just didn't come up. If anything, I'm guilty of it's being a culturalist. Okay, I don't even think that's a term, but let's make it one. As a culturalist, one thing I don't like is that EBT, looting, rioting, and just stupid, beating somebody up, for just because of the way they think, and forget how they look. That would be racist, right? When people are getting beaten by a mob just because they don't think the way the mob does. I hate that. I'm a culturalist. And in that, you can be white, black, brown, yellow, or whatever, because if you're part of that, you know, the blacks are calling it the niggas. There's a difference between the blacks and the niggas. Well, between the whites, there's a difference between whites and white trash or tweakers and whatever you want to call them. Yeah, there's going to be all kinds of names, and we can call that whatever category we want. As a core belief, I like people, and actually, I have a lot of hope for humanity in its entirety. I really do. I think, as a general rule, at least within the white world and the Native American world, people want to act well. They want to treat people well, and that's a cultural value. On the blacks, when they're talking about how whites don't approve of the looting and they all get together and they go looting and whatnot, or the riots for something else, or the incomplete thought, meaning that if a white cop kills a black man, then that's Black Lives Matter. But yet, if they're killing each other at 5 to 7,000 a year, then that's just something they don't talk about. It's just part of the culture. So I'm not a racist by any means, but I'm definitely a culturalist. And they say when I leave comments about things, it's kind of like I'll leave comments, but referring to the things about the culture that I don't particularly care for, and I would not want to see that in my neighborhood, or have my grandchildren forced to be around them in schools and other places. And that's a preference. I have a right to do that, and I have no problem exercising my rights in that way. As does, here, let's go back to, I love the virtue of complete thought. Why is it that whites are basically the minority of the planet, but yet they're the ones that everybody says needs the most diversity? Okay, here, let's go into complete thought. When you look at white people, you have all types of white skin. You have blonde hair, black, auburn, red, and different shades thereof. You have the eyes, you have the brown-eyed, blue-eyed, green-eyed, hazel-eyed. There's a lot of diversity in the white culture, even though it's the minority on the planet. But why is that the one that needs to be diversified? That's the one that needs more multiculturalism, and why, if the societies are so bad, why do all the other non-whites from basically, countries that really don't have any kind of health standards, education standards, or economic progress, why are they the first ones to come, and want to pollute, and I mean culturally pollute, the white countries? there you go. Everybody, every race had slavery, but it was the white people that ended it, and slavery is alive and well on the continent of Africa. How about some complete thoughts with this? So I'm sure you'll see more of my trolls and other idiots and incomplete thinkers, leaving comments and so on. I'm going to leave the comments up. I don't care. People have asked me if I worked with any other shamans other than whites and Native Americans, and yes, absolutely, I have. There was one Kenyan shaman in particular I really learned a lot of as an older teen and in my early 20s. So that's it. I just figured I'd get that up. And there's a group of haters, unfortunately, mostly on the left, that will just always find something to hate. And since I'm talking about the left, it brings up political aspects to the conversation, and people ask me where I stand. I'm like, I'm a fiscal, okay, for you leftists that don't know what that word means. That's more like budget. I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't think we should be throwing away money on programs on countries outside the United States. Especially, I think we should stop the American war machine, the military-industrial complex, and spend more on education, more on holistic medicine. That's where I am a dogged conservative, is just wasting money. The banking system, the credit, all that just needs to be totally overhauled. You'll never hear me say one of these stupid things like burn it all down, because I'm one of the few people skilled enough, to build it up. Mostly the people that are yelling burn it all down are the ones that don't have any skills, nothing to contribute, and would not be able to build it all back up. If I was to say anything, I'm old school liberal, because it's kind of like, and that comes from libertarian, it's like, you do your thing, I'm going to do mine. I'm not going to hurt you, you don't hurt me, and we won't have a problem. That's how this country was founded. There was a bunch of liberals doing a constitutional republic. It's a great plan. So I think it's a wonderful government system, but the people have to be actively involved in it. And you get lazy, it all turns to shit. The whole woke thing, that's just a bunch of lazy, stupid people, trying to make up stuff to unify them in some agenda, and claiming, persistent, consistent and indefinite victimhood. It's a loser culture. The gender thing, there's two. I'm not going to get into a bunch of anything else. I'm 67 years old at the time making this video. And, there's two genders. There's nothing complex about that. Nature's not complex. It's real simple and efficient. These other people, if I would have told my daughters, I have 4, when they were small and being all tomboy and active, oh yeah, you're a boy, we had to cut your tits off and, get a bunch of surgery and take these pills for the rest of your life. And then when they grow out of that phase, then what? I'm responsible for ruining their lives. No, they want to dress up like boys, go hunting, go play football, whatever, okay. And then they went back to being the girly girls, and now they're mothers, and good mothers too. Young people, are filled with hormones and idealism, and without any type of wise guidance, that just becomes a recipe for disaster. Anything unchecked leads to chaos. Chaos can lead to change, there's no doubt about that. But we have to be, use some common sense. Complete thought, critical thinking, common sense, awesome virtues. Awesome virtues. Self-awareness, situational awareness, good aspects to add to your personality. All right, please leave comments. I'll go ahead and do videos on comments and so on, because right now the track of the United States, as it's a superpower leading the world, I'm looking around like and I travel a lot, I traveled a lot through Asia in my 20s, a good bit through Central and South America, and a lot through Eastern and Western Europe and Australia. People have no respect for the United States, and nor should they. We're not that respectable anymore. We let our military-industrial complex just run amok. You know, as some people in Colombia told me, as long as you guys have cheap gas, something to eat, and something to watch on TV, you couldn't give a fuck about what's happening in the rest of the world. And I understand why they think that way about us. And I hope we can change that. Because I do remember a time when Americans were respected and welcomed all over the world. We had a reputation for intelligence, education, adventurism, kindness, compassion, you know. And people would say, yeah, Americans always want to do the right thing. That's how people used to think of us. Imagine that. Again, leave comments. I'll get back with y'all. If you're interested in apprenticeship, you can go ahead and email me at shamaniclodge@gmail.com. Catch y'all later.